What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happened in the scale world of RC over the last week. This is episode 96 of the Scale News Update, and if you didn't hear last time, we're going to be doing a 100th episode giveaway, so stay around till the end and there's information on how you can enter. But let's jump into this week's topics. First topic for this week is a new servo from Beeftubes. Now, this servo's got pretty decent specs overall. It's a standard 25-2 servo horn. It's got over 500 ounce-inches of torque at 6 volts and over 600 ounce-inches of torque at 7.4. Overall, this is just a good-looking servo, being that it has an aluminum case to it. It's waterproof, it says not submarine proof, but just overall from the specs and the appearance, from the outside, it looks like a nice, decent servo. And I don't always cover servo news, but this servo just had a ton of conversation around it. And I think it's partially because it looks very much like another servo. But there's only a very small number of actual manufacturers that build servos. And from the outside, they may have an appearance that looks almost identical, but that doesn't necessarily mean that inside is the same servo. There's some specifications on these servos that can be adjusted depending on who you're ordering from or how much you're ordering and how much you're willing to pay. A ton of different things can go into making what's on the inside of a servo different from what might look like the same servo with some different lasering on it. And that may very well be the exact case for this servo. I don't own this servo or the version that it looks like on the outside. So who knows exactly which way this specific situation goes, but this is something that may be common to see in several areas of the market, but very specifically in servos and some other electronic components. But there's another big part of something like this or offering something like this, and that is who you're buying it from, where you're buying it from, and what they're going to stand behind as far as customer service or support, replacement parts or warranty repair, all these different things. Depending if you're just buying it from somewhere overseas and you have no idea is if something happens in 5 minutes or 5 years, if you're going to have any course of action of repairing or replacing that servo that you bought. In general, this is only a little bit about this new servo from Beeftubes, and in reality, it's just a situation that goes on in the RC market that not everyone may be 100% aware of, and why they may see situations like this where things look very similar but with different names and different price points and everything that goes into it. It's not always just what the outside looks like that ends up making it worth the money. Sometimes it's what it's made out of or what's on the inside that really counts. But if you're interested in this servo, of course, like the rest of the stories in this week's news, I will link it in the description below. You can go check it out there for more information. Next is something for you Capra owners. UC Fab is releasing a machined Delrin skid plate with actual carbon fiber link supports on each side. So definitely something that's a little bit nicer than just a 3D printed skid plate. 3D printed skid plates are not something that I've ever personally liked. I don't care for the support that 3D printing necessarily has, and I always feel better about a machined or molded part where it's solid and even throughout on the inside rather than 3D printing. This option is for you guys with Capras who specifically want to swap over to a 3-gear original style Axial transmission. And the reason you may want to do that is because you can get so much better gearing out of a standard Axial 3-gear transmission than you can that new style Capra transmission. The Capra transmission it's way lacking in gear ratio, and the Capra needs more. The other possible reason is that then you can add a Vanquish Hertz Dig to the back of a standard Axial 3-gear transmission and have a dig that functions quite a bit better than the one inside the Capra transmission. There's a big difference between the performance of these two digs, so it's something that is going to be a definite notice as far as the reliability of being able to lock and unlock under power. Now, to run the Hertz Dig inside of that Capra cage though, you will also need an optional servo mount that UC Fab also came up with. It uses a standard size but shorty height servo so that you can put that in there, clears the drive shaft, clears everything else in that cage. gives you just all of the function back that you had before, but now with that better gearing or more reliable dig. I believe the first batch of these sold out quickly through the Ultra Custom Fab website, but make sure and check back there for more information, or their Facebook page is always a reliable place to find out when parts are going to be hitting. Both of those places will be listed in the description below. Over the last couple of weeks, Matt from the Scale Builders Guild and myself, we've been doing some joint live feeds through the YouTube channels, and we've been having just a lot of fun with that. But we wanted to get onto an actual schedule with them for the short term at least. While everyone is a little bit more cooped up than normal, we figure we continue trying to get as many of these live streams out there as we could. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna start doing those live streams every Wednesday evening. These won't be terribly long live streams, but we'll probably shoot for the 1 to 2 hour mark. So if you're looking for more entertainment on Wednesday nights live, absolutely check out either my channel or Matt at Scale Builders Guild. And also, of course, you could watch it after the fact as they're posted on both channels. And the difference from last week when we had all of the details finally about the SCX-10 III to today when they've started hitting customers' hands all over. We're seeing a ton of builds popping up, people getting them out on the rocks, having fun already at a safe distance away from people, and just the builds continue to keep rolling. I'm really looking forward to getting mine out on the rocks as well. As soon as I get the body back from being painted, I'll get it all finished up. We'll finish doing our overview on that thing. But no matter what, up to this point, I've had fun building the truck and looking forward to the future that a new Axial platform will bring. As with any new release, of course, there's lots of opinions on people who like it or people who are on the other side of the fence as well. Now, one of the big, kind of debates that happened is that, Axial finally went to a portal design, and now people are, wondering, well, Traxxas got all this flack for going to portals, and now Axial's doing it. Why aren't we seeing the same amount of, flack that they're getting? And I guess partially it just seems like that is a true statement, but it's just because the Traxxas did kind of change the market in that way, and it made people so, focused on that feature. And it's not that Traxxas was the first to do it, but they were definitely the first to do it and on a truck that became popular. All the ones that happened before were trucks that they never caught on really. They were either made by G-Made or MST, maybe a couple of others in there as well that just don't pop up just because they were that just kind of in the background. But I would say that it's safe to say Traxxas popularized it, and now we're going to start seeing all of these trucks coming out, and they're, going to either have to have a portal to just stay with the status quo, or they're going to have to try and really buck a trend by going with a traditional axle. By no means am I a scale purist in a lot of ways, but personally I do prefer a straight axle myself as well, but see why Axial went the route that they did nonetheless. I was just taking a look at the shelf that sits behind me. I had to just do a quick count to see. On those shelves behind me, I've got 6 trucks with standard straight axles and 5 trucks that have at least one axle with a portal on it. And the SCX-10 III isn't even up there. So, for as much as I profess that I like the standard straight axle better, it looks like the statistics in here kind of beg the differ. So I think for the question of this week, I want to throw that out there. Just how many do you have that are standard straight axle, and how many do you have that are a portal design? Throw out anything that's a race buggy. None of that counts. This is solid axle trucks, portal, non-portal. No Yetis or Baja Rays, any of that. Post your numbers of each in the comments below. And lastly for this week, kind of an unavoidable topic. I think everybody's trying to stay at home as much as they can. I know a lot of people still have to go to work, but there is some that are trying to, self-isolate as much as possible. And going hand in hand with that, there's a lot of local businesses that are closed during these times, and that's going to be really hard on some of these shops. So if you have the ability to still support your local hobby shop in some way, maybe just make that effort just as the hobbyist in you to try and sustain these people the best you can during these times that could be very hard on the stores, or possibly some of these stores are, online, things like that, are still doing well because a lot of us are, staying at home, trying to get things done. And, what else are you going to do sometimes when you have a few free minutes at home, but grab an RC car and start, doing some work. But just to say it again, if you can support one of your local hobby shops now or ever, of course, do so. We lose enough brick and mortar local hobby shops as it is already. Times being extra tough with things like this, definitely not going to make situations any easier for them. But before you go, about the giveaway for the 100th episode of the Scale News Update. There's a link in the description below. You go there. There's a number of ways you can enter, and you can enter multiple ways, and you can also enter daily in some ways by just coming back to the links. I'll post them in all the videos. So if you're on a video, make sure you just go click on that and enter a couple or a few more times. It doesn't cost anything, and I said that I will ship internationally to the winner for the Holmes Polar Pro V2 motor and a Castle Mamba X ESC. I'm using a third-party website that I actually have to pay for to use. It's a very popular site, and a lot of the big YouTube channels actually use it because they pool all the names together, they draw the winner, we just get the information. We don't have anything to do with random numbers or anything like that. They pick the winner. I think you get notified through them even, so it's just clean and simple. I'll shoot John Holmes an email with all of your information, and your prize will go in the mail. All I ask is that you're subscribed to the channel before you win. But that's gonna do it for this week's Scale News Update. Hope you all have a safe, healthy rest of the week. As always, I appreciate you guys coming, watching the Scale News Update every Tuesday. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Everyone, welcome back to the Scale News Update. If you're not familiar with the show, this is where we talk about the news topics that happen in the scale world of RC over the last week. If you enjoy the Scale News Update, make sure to hit the like button before you leave and subscribe if you're not already. Now let's jump into this week's topics.